Hi everyone and welcome to today's quick fix. The question I'm answering today is this. Someone has written in and said, my main problem is at this point is arranging the leaves and petals on, I've got a plant here, arranging the leaves and petals relative to the stems and the petals relative to each other. I wind up with the petals either too tight together so that they overlap whilst I'm left with a gap, or I have leaves awkwardly placed on the stem. I just don't seem to get the proper proportions and angles well. Let me show you a few little tips that I can help with. So first off, preparation is always really useful. Drawing in just the basic stem. So here I have a pencil stem on a slight curve. Obviously all plants and flowers are going to have different structures and different density of how the leaves and petals are packed. But the first thing is, if you have a flower on your piece, that's probably going to take up the most room. So I always would mark in, firstly, the flower. That's an open-faced flower, as I'd put a circle on the page just to sort of reflect the central area where the petals are anchored from. And then from there, you would paint in your petals first because they take up the most room. So let me just pop in some simple petals first. Because this is a quick fix, I'm just going to pop these in really fast without focusing on the actual tutorial of these petals. I have so many simple flower painting tutorials in my flowers and foliage playlist. This is more about talking about the placement. So you can see here, obviously it's not a daisy, the flower takes up so much room. So if you'd started to paint in loads of leaves beforehand, you would have struggled with actually squeezing in a flower head there. So that's all good, that's all done. And now I can place in my branches where my leaves might go. Now we've got branches, but you might also, if you want a helping hand, give yourself extra pencil lines which are going to just be the central sort of line of the leaf itself. If I sort of very faintly draw one in there, you'll see what I mean. Now you'll notice that every leaf is angling in the direction of the end of the stem. On the whole, there are exceptions, you're not going to get leaves that grow backwards down the stem. As I said, on the whole, most of the time your leaves are going to be growing in the direction of the end of the stem. And then that means once you've got those drawn in, you can place in your leaves. I've got a nice sort of bright yellowy green here. For the sake of it, I'll just add in a little bit of darker colour. So, and here, that one, okay, we've placed it in and we've allowed ourselves enough room so we're not worrying about an overlap or anything there. I'm just having a bit of fun with this. So preparation really is the most important thing. But the other thing is, if we want to be layering up on top of each other, then the other important thing is the sort of consistency of the colour you're using. If you've painted really dark and heavy with a really strong concentrated colour, it is going to be very difficult to paint anything layered up over the top of that. But if we're painting in a quite translucent manner like this, even though we have got some stronger green in there, we're still painting translucently. And this means that we can then, without much trouble, be painting in more leaves, petals, whatever it is you want, on top of these shapes that you've already painted. So let these dry and then we'll layer some up and just see what we mean. So I've added in some stems and some extra little branches that are going to be great examples of how we're going to layer up colour. But let me first show an example with the flower itself. Those are painted in permanent rose in a quite a dilute fashion, but they were fairly sort of bold and bright. So I'm either going to have to go really concentrated with that, or I find a deeper version of a similar tone to layer up on top. And I've just got some alizarin crimson here, and I just wanted to demonstrate about layering up, it's very important first off that the first layer has dried so that we can get a nice crisp layer over the top, and it's also important that the layer underneath is either lighter or more translucent in general, so that a more concentrated or more dark colour will show up over the top. So that's just a little example there. Now let's have a look at painting in these leaves then. So we can go for a colour that is not only a little darker, so I'll get more sap green here, and I'll get some green gold in as well, just to keep it on a yellowy green tone. But I've waited for these to dry. I will get some cadmium yellow in there as well, just so that they still look like they are related. Just look how strong that yellow is as a colour, really, really opaque. Cadmium yellow is a fantastic colour for layering over the tops of things. Okay, so first things first, we need to check that that's dry underneath. Yes, they're dry, brilliant. And I'm going to paint a leaf over the top. Now the way I'm painting these leaves, I leave a little bit of unpainted space through the middle, which of course does show the leaf underneath, but in this style of painting watercolour I think that's absolutely fine. And then if you wanted further down the stem to sort of go slightly more yellowy green again, that's fine. Just making sure I don't stick my hand in something else. There you go. And just keep things nicely curved, just like how we were saying about the stems and the leaves, how they're all sort of angling off. Keeping even the leaves themselves nicely curved and moving just means that you get a lovely organic feel. And that, therefore, even though there's overlap and it's quite tightly packed and everything, there's a lovely sense of organic growth going on. So I hope that was useful, and have a go. I think the best thing is to just have a try. So that is this week's quick fix. Thanks so much for watching.